Welcome everyone to the Big Question series, episode 3 of East Corp Group, where the burning questions are addressed by Mr. Hemant Khadse. So, Mr. Hemant, there is a small question from Mr. Deepak Nawate, and his question is there any difference in codes and standards? And these terms are often used in fire and life safety design engineering.
I think it's a great question by Deepak, and I glad that somebody has a courage in asking because this question is in the mind of many engineers, but they never ask because of their hesitation, being a very fundamental questions. Now, as you said rightly, these terms have been used extensively in the industry, and since we are talking about our fire and life safety design engineering domain, codes and standard has been frequently used. But is it a same term or a different term? That needs to be understood by every engineer. And it's very clear that both the terms are interchangeably used, but they have a different meaning. They have a different altogether. So let's look at what's a code. Code is basically nothing but a specific set of rules, regulations, definitions, requirement specified in the guidebook. There are many codes available in the industry, which are basically primarily called as a building code or a model code. Building code are again very known term. People use it. Like in India, we have a national building code. Internationally, it's IBC or even NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, has got a life safety code called NFPA 101, which is nothing but a building code. Now, essentially, this building code have got a job to decide and recommend what are the best practices based on their research and give you the requirements in a very stipulated way so that it becomes a minimum code requirement for any occupancy that has been prescribed into the course book. Now those are a minimum guidebooks, so we need to see that these requirements are added, and when these requirements are actually becoming part of your statutory requirement, it becomes a mandatory requirement. But till that time, this building code is not actually the regulatory or a mandatory code requirement. It is just a recommended practices that you have. But the moment it is getting incorporated in your statutory, it becomes a mandatory. But the moment you look at the other side of coin, when you know the requirement very clearly from a building code perspective, the next step is to how do you achieve those requirements fulfilled into your design. So that's how the standards comes in play. So standard essentially gives you how these requirements are getting fulfilled in the form of engineering practices, the guidelines. That is how the standards comes in play, and you can see the lot of standards available in fire and life safety. Like you have a sprinkler standard, which is IS 15105 in India, in NFPA 130, which is a globally. So likewise, there are 150 plus standards available for that particular systems or equipment, which is nothing but to adhere the requirement of what is there in the building code, and that's how you get an answer on how do you fulfill those requirements. So this is what primarily the difference between codes and standard. I'm sure this would have helped everyone to understand the fundamentals. Thank you.